It is so very lovely to see so many dear friends, dear colleagues. Grant Gitlin's also here. It's so good to see you all for a very special day. First, if you all join me in saying happy birthday, Mayor Peduto. So we wanted to choose this very special day underneath his name forever enshrined here to bring back a ceremony that had a bit of an uneven history, and that's the unveiling of the former mayor's portrait. It was Mayor Murphy who last stood at this podium with then former Mayor Masloff in a tradition that goes back many, many years. This thing, I also kind of made Bill do it. He was a little resistant at first. You know, if you get to know him, you know, despite having been a mayor, he's actually a bit of an introvert. However, this thing spent too much time in my car, and I had to drive it to the foundry like 3 times. So I was going to get a ceremony. It's Bill knows that he's very easily convinced sometimes if I say something in just the right way. To kick things off here, I want to call up his successor, the Honorable Mayor Ed Gainey, to say a few remarks. Mr. Mayor, sir.
So good morning, everybody. So I think we got to start this party off right? So I'm going to ask Mayor Peduto to stand up, and we're going to do two versions. First one is going to be the traditional, then we're going to break out to some Stevie, right? So on 3, we're going to start this. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mayor Peduto. Happy birthday to you. All right, y'all ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Let's give him a round of applause. You got it. You know, I'm gonna be brief, but I just want to say that, 1, congratulations. 2, it's never easy being mayor. Every mayor, I think, is called for a purpose and time. And without your purpose and time, we couldn't be here today. And I think that you fulfilled that role quite well. Not just as being mayor, but a lot of the people that you teached. A lot of people that learned up under you. I see Majestic in the building. I see Knowledge in the building. I see, hold on, where you at? I see Grant in the building from the beginning. Sonia, all the former staffers, political people, stand up. Stand up. Come on, y'all. Stand up. Stand up. Come on, stand up. Hold on for 1 minute before y'all sit down. Please, don't sit down yet. Just give me 1 minute. Commander, what you doing? Well, I'm sorry. Listen. Look at what you raised. Look at the knowledge you poured into them. Look at the return on the investment that they came here today. That's powerful. Bobby, stand up. You don't think he was integral? Huh? Fitz, stand up. You understand what I'm saying? I think if you want to know the power of love of somebody, what they poured out into a community, it's not just that they stood here as mayor, it's what they gave you. I thought we should have had a moment in time for everybody to come up here and say a testimony, because we don't always get this. And to me, it's important that somebody that was mayor or someone that was in the business community that really helped the city or business, that you can give a minute, that you can just give 1 minute to say what he meant to you. So y'all, for that know me, know I like to go off the rails a little bit. You mind, Mayor, if I just get 2 people, just 2, to come and say what he meant to you? Just 2. All of y'all standing up. Just 2 people to come and say thank you for what he did for you.
Okay, I'll keep this quick because I don't know what he's going to do. But I just want to say sure. So I just want to say that So I was hired in, like, kind of right after, like, the beginning, but still kind of at the beginning. And so, you know, I'm not much one for, like, political ambition. Like, I don't have it at all, actually. So when I was actually offered the job to sit at the front desk and be the executive assistant to his chiefs, I actually said no. And Kevin Ackland was like, we need to meet and talk because you said no to this job. And, you know, I just explained to him who I am and the things that I'm interested in and, you know, how meaningful the work for the city is to me because I was doing DEI work at the time. And I'm just going to say that working for you has completely changed my life. And what I enjoyed with my position is that because I wasn't really out in the community as much as everybody else, the conversations that you and I had were all about us and our family and our life. And he would ask me questions like, who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What kind of career do you want to have? And I still have the Christmas card that you wrote that said, Amanda, we're going to find a position that matches the talent that you have, the drive that you have, the ambition that you have. And I can't thank you enough for bringing me in, for embracing me, for really seeing me and caring about who I am as a person. You know, we shared talks about, you know, 80s rock music, which we have a shared love for, apparently. So I just want to say thank you and what an honor it is to be here and to now be able to introduce you to my second child. So thank you.
All right. We got one more for a minute. Who's it? Come on. Guy, a minute. Chief. Oh, all right. 30 seconds apiece.
Okay, you know I'm never shy of a microphone, but as the senior member, when I say senior member, the oldest member of the Peduto staff, I want to thank the mayor for giving me the opportunity to begin working on his campaign and then working for him and Kevin, and I don't see Dan Gilman. Dan's not here. Dan's sick? Okay. But I want to thank the mayor for everything he did. And what I respect about the mayor is the mayor brought on a lot of young folks, and they're all out here in the audience today, and they all have bright futures, and I commend them for that. And it was just a great opportunity to work with the staff, with the residents of the community. And Mayor Gainey, I got to give you credit for allowing us to come up to speak, so thank you very much for doing that. And you need to work on that little vocal cord when you sing that tone.
Yeah. I may never get it back.
So anyway, but good luck with that. But again, Mayor, happy birthday. We, usually got together, and it's been an interesting 8 years working for you. And you've been a great mayor, and a lot of things have happened in the city of Pittsburgh, and I'm glad to be a part of. And again, thank you very much. And as the old guy, I guess Phil, you're going to speak. Second oldest staff member.
All right, I just want to say it's been a pleasure working for the mayor. I spent a lot of time with him last year. Yeah, but it was very nice. And the biggest thing that is always be in my heart is how he gave people opportunity, as was discussed. And he had one saying, one young lady said, "You can't make my decisions for me. Just give us opportunities." That's so true. And I've seen that man put that to practice. He cares about everybody. He cares about people. And that's what I loved about, otherwise I wouldn't have stayed with, I really wouldn't. But he loves people, and he's thinking forward. He did the city a great job, and Mayor Gainey, he's going to do the same thing coming under him. I think we're in the right place. But it has been a pleasure working for the mayor. I'll always remember the opportunity, and I consider Bill Peduto my friend. Thank you.
Can we have a family stand up? Can we have a family stand up? Y'all could do a little better than that. Give it up for the family, please. I just want to say thank you for giving us Bill Peduto. I know it was a lot of time, a lot of stories, but I understand the power of family. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next, we want to bring up somebody who was your friend and partner for many years, who we all spent a lot of time with, our great guy next door across Forbes Avenue, County Executive Rich Fitzgerald.
Thanks, James, and I'm glad you've talked him into doing this. I really am. It's a good thing to do. Yeah, we had a special relationship, and it's kind of unusual because for people who know the history of the city and the county, they didn't always get along. The county commissioners back in the day, and even the county executives in the new form of government since the turn of the century, didn't always get along with the occupant of the mayor's office. And it's so important for us as a region to be able to do that. And when we're out there trying to pitch how great Pittsburgh is, and by Pittsburgh, I think of the whole Pittsburgh region. I know Bill and Ed do as well. We've got to be together. And Bill really made sure that we were together, because even though the city's issues and the county's issues sometimes diverge, we had to be together on so many things. And as a city resident, so who grew up in this city, born in this city, lived here my whole life, those 8 years that Bill Peduto was mayor was unparalleled prosperity. I never thought growing up, and even as an adult, that there would be $500,000 houses in East Liberty or $500,000 houses in Lawrenceville, or that we would see immigration again, the type of immigration that happened a century ago when people came here from Eastern Europe to work in our mills and our mines. Well, during his 8 years, Bill spent a lot of time making sure Pittsburgh was a very welcoming city. And we welcomed people from all over the world. And it was another wave of immigration from Asia, from Latin America. And our Latin American population just exploded. Our Asian population exploded from Somalia, from Bhutan, from China, from India. I was reflecting on this a week or two ago. The Hispanic Chamber of Commerce had their 10th anniversary, an event up in Beachview, and it was absolutely packed. There were so many people. And I remember going to the very first one 10 years earlier. They had it in a restaurant in the South Side, and they all sat at one table. But that's the type of growth that we've seen under this mayor. Coming out of Act 47, he inherited a city that was in distress. And the finances, because of, again, all the growth and all the prosperity. And really the belief in ourselves again. You may remember that big Amazon thing that we all went through when we made the top list. And people were surprised in some ways. Pittsburgh's on that list with all those other great cities. That's what we became. And the Googles and the Facebooks and the Apples and all those worldwide companies that come here because of what we have all worked on. And Bill and his administration wanted to make sure that this was a great city for quality of life, for Ed's, Meds, all the next generation of where we're going as a city, and he deserves an awful lot of credit for that. And I, for one, want to thank him for the work he did in that 8 years, not as a county executive, but as a parent of Pittsburgh kids who I wanted my kids to live in this city. And 5 of them do. 2 in Southside, 2 in Lawrenceville, and 1 in Bloomfield. So thank you, Bill, for the great work that you did.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we're going to bring up a guy who needs little introduction. He is the mayor's first chief of staff, another dear friend, somebody who can play hockey just as well as he can do just about anything. Mr. Kevin Acklin.
Well, good morning, everybody. As James mentioned, I'm Kevin Acklin. I'm sort of the OG chief of staff here with the administration. And when I think back to how little I knew what I was getting into when I walked through these doors with you in 2013, during a polar vortex, if you can remember, Mike, we didn't have any salt because, remember, all the supplies were down. And it was probably a lesson for what it was going to be like to work here in City Hall. You know, since I left, here, I now am president of the Penguins, which is a second dream job that I never thought I'd made out of Oakland alive, much less, serve the people in these halls. But now I work in hockey. This room always feels like a penalty box to me. I only came in here when there was a problem. I always had Grant and the team and Kyle and everybody, like council people. I'd rather not count to 5, like to count to 9. So I always get the jitters, and when you're bringing up Amazon, I almost ran to the bar. But from my perspective, this thing started back in 2011. I remember one of the early meetings when Dan Gilman, myself, Matt Preston, and Bill would get together every other week at the Sharp Edge Brewery and sort of talk about the race. And at times it was quixotic. We had an incumbent at the time who had, ratings that felt they were, insurmountable. But what you did was you built a team. And obviously we worked, and Ed, your race for state rep, we were all part of that, and Rich, your race for county executive, and it feels like we're a team again in this room. So Mayor Gainey, I appreciate your leadership by having us all here. We're all part of the family. Obviously, Mayor Peduto, I was one of the ones that you plucked to say, hey, I want you on the field. And you know my history. I want to talk deeply about it because I'm Irish Catholic and I'll tear up. But my grandfather, was a battalion chief in the Fire Bureau. I grew up in Engine 14. It was a dream of mine to work. I ran for office twice, quixotically, lost both times. The best 2 elections I ever lost because I probably never would have been able to work here with you and to serve. And I just want to I have a couple notes here because I want to make sure I don't miss it. But first of all, you gave it everything you had. 20 years of your career working here. I know that it was very important to you that you made your brothers proud. And I know early on, David, for once, was who we called when we felt you were going off the rails. We'd give him a call and say, David, we need you to come in, and he'd show up, and we'd talk early on when the transition from council to mayor and what it's like to throw bombs and what it's like to throw bombs and then have to pick up the mess after. But candidly, the family, I remember election night, how all of you were together with Guy and David. Obviously, your family's here today. So all of us who worked for you really felt that responsibility to also make your family proud. So that's first and foremost. You always did what was right, regardless of the politics. That sometimes drove us nuts, candidly. But you always said, you wanted to sort of do the right thing, even if you took a political hit for it. You really helped us as a city embrace process and data. You ushered in a more loving and peaceful city. I think for all of us who worked for you, one of the best days here was when we had the first gay marriage ceremony here with all those couples here, and then we went and did a big parade. I should have quit then because that was like the highlight of the career here in city government, but it truly was a moment where we felt, as Mayor Gainey said, you were a mayor for a moment that sort of, most people don't know that you were wearing a flak jacket that day. So we were dealing with the challenges of the politics of the world and how that meant, something different for the city. You made a difference through all of us, as Mayor Gainey appreciates. You brought some ethical reform to the city. We left the city in a financially sound perspective. I remember I wasn't even your chief yet, but we hopped into my Jeep and went to Harrisburg to convince the governor to stay in 47. Again, not a politically sound decision. A lot of people were against us, but ultimately it helped us get our fiscal house in order and leave this administration with a better set of books. You encouraged us to think big, use our time in office to make a difference. You challenged us to imagine what this city could be, to be self-critical, not just pat ourselves on the back, but recognize that growth that Rich talked about isn't being equally felt in all neighborhoods in the city, and that was something that was very important to you. I learned a lesson early in politics is don't ever follow Ed Gainey directly after a speech, but we were partners together on the URA as chair and vice chair, and a lot of that equitable development that's happening was really seated here and something we're very proud of. And so, to Michelle, Donna, Em, and the boys, we're so proud to be part of your family. We think daily of those who can't be here with us from the Peduto family. And Mayor, I just want to thank you for your leadership and service to Pittsburgh. And most of all, thank you for letting all of us be part of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Also want to take a moment again and thank you, Mayor Gainey, and your administration for allowing us to have this. Everybody, many of our old friends who helped out with the ceremony, the printing, and all that. I just want to thank you and your team for being so open to welcoming us back. Also wanted to take a moment to recognize, I know Councilperson Erica Strausberger is here, as well as Councilman Bobby Wilson, and Council President Cale Smith, who was kind enough to allow us to host the event in Chambers, so we want to thank them as well. Coming up next, Dan Gilman, believe it or not, is so sick he could not be here, which tells you how sick Dan is. He would have crawled here in any other situation. So he just asked that Bill's Deputy Chief of Staff, his partner for really the second term with Dan, Majestic Lane, is just going to come up and say a few words about the latter half. He doesn't want to because he didn't think it was going to be like an up here day, but We're going to drag him up.
So, as you can tell, coming out the stands, I didn't know that I was going to be up here today. But as houses of worship across the country say, you know, come as you are. So I'm here and here to really celebrate a friend. Mayor Gainey, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to his administration for the opportunity to really see a transfer of power and a transition that our city really needs. That is really an important example, not just for Pittsburgh, but for the country, with everything that we're seeing and the ability to work together, to partner together to make our city better. Because we know that one thing that the mayor shared, Mayor Gainey and Mayor Peduto share, is a love of this city and a love of the people of this city. So I want to say thank you for that. Really quickly, I want to tell a story. And the story is that I previously worked for State Senator Jim Furlow, who passed away in May of this year. And so everyone here, if your political history goes back, you remember Jimmy, and you remember everything about him and everything and what it meant to work for him. And as the election came in 2013, I still worked for the senator, and I said to myself, and I said to the mayor, said to Jim, I said, I would like to work for Peduto, even though he was supporting someone different and I was supporting someone different. He said, I think that's a good idea. And if you need me to talk to him, even though we're not friends, I will. And, you know, but with Jim, you say, no, maybe you shouldn't do that. Like, let's just let sleeping dogs lie. And, you know, I kept it in my mind even as I transitioned. And actually, one night at Steel Cactus in Shadyside, Knowledge and I, we're coming out of, oh man, where was it? No, not Shady Grove, the New Orleans bar. Mardi Gras is where we at. Okay, it was Mardi Gras. We were coming out of Mardi Gras. It was, okay, that's where we were at. So we were coming out of there, and we saw Katie, and she said, you know what? Kevin and Dan and the mayor are at Steel Cactus, and you should go up and talk to them. And that one interaction changed my life. It allowed me to do things of which I never dreamed. It allowed me to travel and see the world, but most importantly, serve this city in a way that I could. And it's a testament to the mayor that he brought on someone that was not part of his political space. Everyone here knows the reality that when, you know, you have people who are from quote unquote opposing teams, they stay on opposing teams. And it was his leadership that allowed to see that I had something to bring to the city. That was a testament, a hallmark to his leadership, and that he did with so many people, that he didn't he put personality aside and did what was most important for the city to survive and to flourish. Through being in administration and working with, you know, then Chief of Staff Gilman and Mayor Peduto, I got to really understand the importance of Pittsburgh as a global location. Now we take it for granted. Every company is here. We're going through this growth that we're having to manage because we're having growth that we never saw. But that wasn't sure. We weren't sure of that 10 years ago. We weren't sure of that 12 years ago. And the ability to see Pittsburgh as a global place, but still locate the fact that we had to do what was most important for every resident in the city, regardless of race, gender, orientation. So allowing us to create the 5th office of equity in the country and actually dedicate ourselves to being equitable and making sure that equity ran through all of our activities is yet another testament to do that, because we did it when it wasn't popular. We did it when equity wasn't the words that everyone is talking about like we are now. It's not baked into all of our conversations. So to lead in that way was, again, as a testament to what you did. I'm honored to call you my friend and my mentor. Messiah sends his best. My 12-year-old sends his best. And one thing that was important was he had a chance to sit in the mayor's chair. He had a chance to walk through these halls with the mayor and really go back and tell his friends that he was with the mayor of Pittsburgh at that time. A testament to your selflessness. Thank you for what you did for me, what you did for the city, and what you did for so many people in here.
Okay, we're gonna get ready to close in on wrapping things up. Next up, Lindsay Powell, who was his Assistant Chief of Staff for the second term, is gonna read the much haggled over official bio for Mayor Peduto that's printed in there.
Good morning, everyone. As James said, I'm Lindsay Powell. I served under the leadership of Mayor Peduto from 2017 to 2022. I said this feels just like old times, except I think you were only 5 minutes late today. So, same, but different. As many people have said, I wouldn't be here without your leadership. I started at the city as a policy analyst, and I found the job on Indeed.com. I had no ties to the city, didn't know anyone in there, but it saw the vision and was really interested in investing my time, investing my spirit into this work. And I remember meeting with you and Kevin Acklin at the very big table and feeling very intimidated. And you totally just asked me, well, what do you see? What do you want to do for the city? And told him about my passion for equity work, told him about my passion for really digging deep in policy. And you told me, well, we'll figure it out where you want to be. We'll figure out a position for you here. We'll figure out a home for you here. And 5 years later, I had the opportunity again to serve as the Assistant Chief of Staff, which has been one of the opportunities of my lifetime. So thank you so much for that. Secondly, I want to say thank you to the public servants that are here. I've learned so much from and with you all, and I think that on top of working in the mayor's office on the 5th floor, being able to be your colleague, being able to learn underneath you has been truly one of the greatest experiences of my lifetime. I'm so thankful for each and all of you, both past and present, for investing your time in the city and making sure that we are the most equitable, the most livable city for all. So I have the honor of reading the bio and finally seeing this portrait that has also been very haggled over as well. So during the Mayor Peduto's administration, Pittsburgh was challenged by state oversight of finances, the water authority crisis, the Tree of Life shooting, COVID-19 global pandemic, and infrastructure failures from climate change. Pittsburgh, like cities across the country, experienced significant social upheaval as a result of the murder of George Floyd. Mayor Peduto guided the city through all with a commitment to North Star values and public institution and private partnerships. He led over $10 billion in an economic development strategy of housing, tech, education, and medicine. In finance, Peduto ended state oversight, secured pensions, and halved the city's debt level. The city's revenue grew by over 20%. Through his creation of performance-based budgeting, the Office of Equity, Welcoming Pittsburgh, Office of Sustainability and Resilience, and among others. Peduto was able to establish accountability and transparency. This led to direct reductions in homelessness, poverty, violent crime, historic increases in employment and per capita income, record increases in youth, Latino, and Asian residency, and Peduto being awarded the 2020 Climate Protection Award by the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Peduto created an economic and community model, P4, People, Planet, Performance, and Place, to guide investment. Pittsburgh was recognized nationally and internationally as a model city, receiving awards in urban excellence for technology, mobility, sustainability, infrastructure, and equity. He represented North America's mayors on the board of the Global Covenant of Mayors. Prior to being mayor, William Peduto served 12 years on the city council, partnering to establish the tech, ed, and med industry, writing Pittsburgh's campaign and ethics laws, and led Pittsburgh's progressive movement. The capstone of his environmental leadership was his continued work from 2003 to 2021 to create Pittsburgh's largest park at Hayes Woods. So, without further ado, the portrait.
All right, we're going to get to the final stretch here, but as we do, first I want to recognize Miss Becky Turner Braddock, who's sitting back there. She's the woman who took the photograph that was turned into this brass etching, and that was, thank you for your work. Yeah, there it is. You heard her. One more time. And the brass etching was produced by Matthews International, which of course, in true Pittsburgh fashion, many years ago, I can't remember when, we found out that the CEO was Bill's cousin. because of course it is. So all of the mayoral portraits are these odd brass etchings that were started by Charles Klein way back when he was mayor, famous for stealing money and buying a very expensive rug. He also started the portrait collection. They're brass etchings. We think that because he wanted to kind of buy all of his predecessors. Before that, there hadn't been any collection of the mayor's portraits. And so now we're stuck in what I think is a really unique sort of look that I haven't really seen anywhere else when it comes to portraits. Real quick, personally, I was also thinking the whole time, like everybody else, the word mayor now has like a double meaning here. So Mr. Mayor and Mayor, we'll do that for ease for the rest of the ceremony. Personally, sir, like so many other people here, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here, to stand here. We spent a lot of time together. I think me and Dan are probably second only to Phil, obviously, an amount of time spent together. And I remember so fondly, teaching you what the Avengers were. And you teaching me about many, many old 80s rock bands and just going, look at this video over your shoulder in the car, standing with you and beside you from events like Tree of Life. And, and Mr. Mayor, I think you've recognized too so soon, it's a really hard job. And it's very hard to get it right every time and to do everything right. And it'll never be perfect. And there will always be mistakes and things you wish you could do again. But being with you side by side for so many of it, I saw first and foremost that you always did try to do the right thing. And that's the most important thing you want from anybody in this, somebody who is trying their hardest to do the right thing. It's a tough job. I'm standing here, like so many other people here, a young kid who went to Old Miller Elementary on the Hill, and you'd see downtown, and you never really knew what was going on there. But all of us here, so many friends and family, and again, Grant, who are here to be with you. And a testament to your leadership, to your friendship. I love you, sir. And it's been a fun ride, and I'm so proud to have been with you for so much of it, and to have seen up close and personal that it's hard. And I am also happy now to sleep through the night without worrying about tweets. So how do you want to do it? Do you want to speak first, or then we do it, or what?
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Are we going to count, or are we just going to flip it off?
James, it's up to you. You're always in charge. We always knew that.
1, 2, 3. All right.
Yeah, Kevin, I kind of took it off your Teddy Roosevelt thing. Yeah.
Approved.
Yeah. Yeah, the only time a Republican president portrait has been in this hallway for over 100 years. First off, first to my family, thank you for giving me the support and the love to be able to do this job. As we gather here today, we recognize 1 year since we lost Guy. 1 year ago today, Donna, have been with you, but for the past year, you've showed us grace and strength, and you've made us all so very proud. And we love you, and we miss him, and we still love him. And people can leave, but love never does.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if you noticed, but looking around the room, there's only staff. Well, first, because if I invited supporters and friends, there'd be like 2,000 people, and it would cost a hell of a lot for donuts. So we kept it to the staff, and we used the Christmas party list to be able to invite.
Do I get to sing karaoke?
I would pay anything. For Rage Against the Machine, yes. But take Peduto off and just put us. We did amazing things. And as everyone said, it wasn't that we all came from one group or one political camp or anything of that sort. It was, we came from all across the country. We came from different political camps throughout the city of Pittsburgh, and we came from professional bureaucrats, and that's a good word. People that dedicate their lives to public service and work in order to be able to help others and have spent their lives helping the people of Pittsburgh, and maybe weren't recognized and promoted for that in the past because of politics, but were promoted because of the work that we have done. And I think that we gelled as a team. And we didn't only gel as a team professionally, but we did so as friends. And I enjoyed coming to work every day simply to work with the people that I worked with. And I hope that you felt that as well when you came to work every day as well. So thank you for the work that you did for the people of Pittsburgh in making the city a better place for all that call this place home. Finally, to those that spoke, I would not be here without you. There's no way that I would have won in 2013 without your help, Ed, and without the support that you had given me. And people may not know, but I was one of the few people that supported Ed in 2006. I was cold before the folks in 2021, 15 years before. But I still have the button. But that's not when I met Ed. It goes back all the way to the 1980s, 1986. I worked with his mom for the county, at the county morgue. And it was in the 1990s that I had the opportunity to work with her again in city council when she was working in Salah Uddin's office and I was working for Dan Cohen. And through those years, I got to know of her son and the work that he was doing and getting to support the work. And I don't know if Matt Preston is here. Is he here? He was the only person that I invited other than the staff and family, but he was the architect of a movement that we started back a long time ago, but 2002, to help elect people that really were the outsiders or the ones that really might not have had a chance, and really put a lot of effort in pushing a progressive agenda for the city of Pittsburgh back in the early 2000s. And Matt, on the day after the election, the day after we lost, said something to me that I hold very, very close. And it was, if the work that we've done for these past 20 years has had even a modicum of difference in electing the first black mayor of the city of Pittsburgh, we've succeeded. And I believe that. And you have a legacy to fulfill, not just for black Pittsburgh, for Pittsburgh. A legacy that goes beyond what you may see it as, one that rectifies the mistakes of the past and looks at it as we were saying before, the opportunity. And anything that I can do to be a part of that, I'd be honored to. And I know that everyone in this room would as well.
Thank you.
Rich, what a ride. I think there were 6 years we didn't talk. Is that right? Just, going. By the way, this will all be in the book. So, purchase it in about 5 years. I really look at young Pittsburgh, and I don't think that they can see it unless you saw it through our eyes. And they see Pittsburgh now as just this city that's a city like all other cities. But what we saw was a city that was knocked down to its knees. And so we still get excited when companies locate here and when new apartment buildings go up, because we saw the decimation. And we lived in a time when we never thought it would ever come back. And so we don't view it as negative when neighborhoods see investment, because we saw 50 years when they never had a dollar invested in it. And we see people that are getting jobs, and we see it as no longer do you have to get the Sunday paper in order to try and find that one job that everyone else is applying for. There's opportunities here now where young people are moving here instead of young people leaving. And to have had the opportunity to work with you hand in hand for 8 years, and like we would say to each other, this is historic. There's never been a time in our lifetime where the county and the city worked together. Not just got along, but worked together, one common agenda. We never had a time where we didn't have one agenda that we took to Harrisburg. Here's our the grants that we're looking for, and it's all agreed to. Working with Congressman Doyle, here's what we're looking for in federal. Even at the times where you would give up other grants for the county, or we would put our grants for the city back, we worked together and we got those grants. And that success could not have been done without that partnership. And history will look back as well, and we'll be able to see that what it reflected in was over $10 billion in investment in just 8 years in that little peanut of 55 square miles of the city of Pittsburgh. And that would never have been done without the county. So thank you. Kevin, I don't even know where to start, except I heard sharper edge, Mardi Gras, and steel cactus. What about Cappies? What the hell happened to Cappies? I think we had to have spent at least $5,000. I think City Paper did a story on the campaign finance report about the amount we spent there. But those meetings, that idea that we could actually take on an incumbent, that idea that we would be able to put together a coalition that would be able to actually win was so far from reality, but it was worth putting everything into. And you, I think, were possibly the one person that actually believed it could get done. And without the work that you made, it would not have happened. And then coming in, I've often said that the skill sets that you had and the skill sets that Dan had, I had the two best chiefs of staff working in order to be able to do it. You were the mergers and acquisition guy. You came in and you took apart every department and you rebuilt them. And sometimes that meant at Friday at 2 in the afternoon, you were down in people's office saying, you're not going to be here on Monday. And sometimes you came back with a smile on your face. But that wasn't Dan's skill. Dan worked more along the side of the policy and the putting together the plans of the implementation. But he could never have done it if there was not a foundation built around a new city government. What we came into was basically David Lawrence's machine. And every mayor since then tried to work that machine the way that he had built it. And what we have been able to leave to the next generations of mayors is a 21st century city because of the work that you did. Where'd Majestic go? There you are. Thanks for standing in. First off, I got to say, you know, Dan Gilman's my brother. I can't say enough about him. He came to my office when I was a councilman. He was the president of Carnegie Mellon University students, and he was upset about transit cuts. And, you know, I had that meeting where you're like, you do realize that transit's a county function, right? And he's like, you do realize that you're an elected official and you can speak out. And I was like, okay. And as he was leaving, I said, hey, did you ever consider an internship in government? And he's like, yeah, I interned on Capitol Hill last year, and before that, I interned for the ACLU in Washington. I was like, oh, okay. Well, did you ever consider maybe city government? And that's how I met him. And he had 2 job offers after that internship, one to work for Bill Clinton in Harlem, and the other to stay and earn $20,000 and work for me. And I was blessed he stayed. And from that point, I got a friend, a partner, and one of the smartest, most ethical, and hardest working people I have ever met in my life. Majestic, exactly as you said. I still remember when we were at CEA during the campaign, when you were working with Jake. Knowledge you were going to fight Lex that night, I think. And I'm just telling people from my staff, who are those guys? And I was impressed back then. I was impressed back with the juice company. I was impressed with not only the work that both of you were doing, but the way that you were building community around it. There's a lot of folks who work in politics that try to do it around a manner of bringing down what you constantly were doing, and maybe it was because of the influence of Jim Furlow. You were trying to build up, and you were trying to find ways to find nonprofits and individuals and others to get them the support to see their vision happen. And that is why we wanted to get both of you on the team. And that's why you were promoted within the office to the Deputy Chief of Staff position. I am so proud of everything that you've been able to accomplish. I remember a tweet, I think it was, that you put out when you were in Geneva speaking before the United Nations, and you're just saying something to the effect of a kid from Philadelphia who's now, speaking before the world. You were always ready and prepared for that spot. It was just a matter of having the opportunity to get there. And I can't wait to see what the next chapter of your life is. And I look forward to working with you on that. James. You know how I met James? I met James when he was in high school. And
3-4 years ago.
And I got myself in big trouble because I tried to keep Shenley High School open. In fact, Roosevelt, the superintendent at the time, called Jerry Cohen at Carnegie Mellon, because I used Carnegie Mellon students in order to do an economic development study that said, if we redevelop Reisenstein and build mixed use, we can use those tax dollars and do a deferment in order to be able to do all the improvements and Shenley can stay open. That's now called Bakery Square, and we could have done it. And he said to Cohen, Peduto should never be allowed back on campus again. And he called me up, and I couldn't believe what he was saying on the other line. But there was this kid at Shenley who was the unofficial historian of Shenley High School. And he was working with Mr. Lavelle, Daniel Lavelle's dad, who was a Shenley alum. And the two of them were doing a grassroots campaign to try to save the school. And I was really impressed with the guy. And then a few years later, I was being interviewed by a young journalist student at Point Park. And it was the same kid. And I was like, wow, that's that same guy from Shenley. And a few years after that, I had a group of mayors in, and they were from 6 different cities, and I took them on a Just Ducky tour, and guess who's leading the tour? I'm like, is this guy following me?
That's when we got the restraining order.
So that's when I told Kevin. I said, I found out he was working for Daniel Lavelle, and Lavelle wasn't paying him. I'm there like, go get him and make sure that we can hire him. And at the time, Corey Buckner was my executive assistant. He's here. Raise your hand, Corey. It's good to see you. And Corey was getting courted by SEIU to become a union organizer. And we're like, we need to find an executive assistant. And in came James. And, you know, I don't know. I would often tell him, get your master's degree, get your master's degree, get your master's degree. Yeah, you still have to do it. And the thing about it was, because I see him as being director of something, and I'm not sure what that is, but I could not have asked for a better right arm. You know, the job of anybody having to watch over me, you know, there's a reason I'm not married. I'm not an easy person, and you have to have a lot of patience, and I am often late. And often, yeah, I get in my moods sometimes. As we call it, Peduto time. So, thank you. I'll just leave it at that. And Lindsay as well. Lindsay, it wasn't that you applied for the job, it was that we were making sure you weren't going to leave. And that was our goal. Lindsay pedigree from her work in New York City and in Washington, D.C. gave her the opportunity to live and to do whatever she wanted to do. And we were told that she was going to leave Pittsburgh. After getting her master's at Carnegie Mellon, the world was open to whatever it was that she wanted to do. And from her fellowship opportunity of working in Asia, she had not only the opportunity to work in local government, but to work in global affairs. And we wanted to make sure we didn't lose that talent. And I also remember a conversation that I don't think we've ever talked about, but it was with you and somebody who mentored me, and that was Valerie McDonald Roberts. And Valerie talked to you about how limited the opportunity is for black women in Pittsburgh, and that you should look at other opportunities because of the glass ceiling. That is why we broke the glass ceiling with you, and intend to make sure that others will follow. You will be that example. And there were others that worked in our office that will be as well, and others that worked in this administration. And you have that opportunity, but more importantly, you have that responsibility. In my new line of work, I am bored as hell.
These my draft picks.
So let this be a lesson that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Being a mayor is the hardest job, but it is rewarding. And for all of those moments that you feel lonely, remember that you will always have people around you that are always there, even though you might not feel it at that time. And they'll always have your back, even when it seems like everybody on Twitter and in the Post-Gazette columns is against you, or comments are against you. Just understand that that's your team, and that you have them with you and your family as well. Anything, like I said, that I can do, I will be there. This poem is from the 19th century, and I had the opportunity through one of my clients to be in Louisville in September. And while I was there, the mayor took me to the Muhammad Ali Museum. Muhammad Ali is one of my top heroes. And it's not because of what he did in the ring. It was because of all the things that he did and what he stood for outside the ring, and how he put his entire career and reputation on the line again and again and again to do the right thing. And if anybody remembers the way that I put my office, I had a big portrait of Muhammad Ali hanging on the wall. It was a Warhol, and it was the first Warhol to be in the mayor's office. And people would always say, isn't that nice? But if you remember, I had that blue chair that I'd always sit in. I'm sorry, I like squashed that cushion down. And behind me was Ali. And I did that on purpose, so that if I'm meeting with a developer or I'm meeting with whomever, consciously they're looking at me, but over my shoulder they're seeing Muhammad Ali. And it's just a way of saying, like, I'm representing the people, and you know what he represented throughout his life. This is his favorite poem, and I never heard it before. It's by Kipling. It's from the 19th century. It's called If. And this is about us. This is about what I believe we were able to accomplish in our 8 years. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
All right, folks, we are going to call it a day real quick. There's coffee and donuts outside, so please help yourself. Before you say hi or stop the mayor, you got to validate your parking. We're going to go toss that on the wall, let the press see that, and then you can come out and mingle if that's okay.
Sure.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.